Mumtaz Rathore, what did you make of those comments?
Well, these comments are, I think you have heard, English person, you know, and he said clearly that the people of Kashmir should be given the right of their choice, and that they should have to exercise their right, which right has been given to...
Could Kashmir sustain itself, though? Could it stand on its own 2 feet? Are there enough natural resources there?
Why not? Why not? Kashmiris are very, very intelligent people, and they have been doing for centuries. Before the India and Pakistan, they were not existed. Kashmir has a 5,000-year history, and I hope that Kashmiris will survive, and they will do a wonderful job in living with the international community, and we are part of the international community. And I
How are you going to persuade the international community to support you?
Well, we got a wonderful people like Victoria and many others. They are helping us, and hopefully we are slowly and steadily we are going to that goal, and one day, inshallah, with grace of mighty Allah, we will have a independent state which will called Kashmir.
Victoria, you've been focusing on the Kashmir issue now for 2 decades. Is there an easy solution? Is there... I know the British are notorious for sort of drawing a line over something and saying, right there. Is there an easy solution in the issue of Kashmir?
Well, you know, it could be easy if you'd got visionary leadership, and I think...
Is that from within Kashmir?
I think well, no, I mean, I think you've got to have visionary leadership outside Kashmir as well, because you've actually got 2 countries, Pakistan and India, effectively controlling the 2 bits of Kashmir. Let's not talk about the bit that's controlled by China, which is the Aksai Chin, that they've built a 100-mile road through that northern area. Sometimes people do like to involve China as a player, but nobody lives up there, so I think let's actually not talk about China. But India and Pakistan basically control Kashmir. And when you're talking about independence, when you're talking about the right of the self-determination, you're also talking about the goodwill of 2 countries to agree to give up territory which they both control. And this is where one of the big difficulties arises, because no country gives up territory willingly. Yes, you had the breakup of the Soviet Union and you had the creation of the Stan states. You also had the reunification of Germany with the falling of the Berlin Wall. And I know that certainly in my reporting on Kashmir, these 2 events were very inspirational for Kashmiris. But currently, you've got both India and Pakistan not wanting to give up territory they control.
Kashmir is the thorn in the side of both of these powers, both of them nuclear powers. Surely the international community could see, by removing the thorn, the relations between India and Pakistan should immediately improve.
Well, I've mentioned the word visionary. You've got to have people who can have that vision, who can see that, if that's indeed what the majority of the Kashmiri inhabitants want. But at the moment, the situation we're at now is that you've got a very heavy military presence in the Valley of Kashmir.
Yes.
You've got continuing human rights abuses, because by definition, the presence of an army creates a potential human rights abuse situation, as we heard from Muzammil, because you've got young boys, they throw stones, the army retaliates with tear gas and with guns.
But Muzammil, can you elaborate on these human rights? What sort of human rights abuses are we talking about?
You see, essentially, as Victoria said, that they throw stones, and it's bullets for stones mentality in Kashmir. Now, it's the human rights abuses and atrocities. You see, there are laws in place. For example, the PSA Act, which is a 2-year jail sentence without trial. Then there's the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which ultimately gives the Indian Army impunity from prosecution. Ever. They will never be prosecuted. Now, in Indian states, in Indian states of India, the shooting below the waist is considered the last option. But in Kashmir, shooting anywhere on the body is considered the first and only option. And you see, when you have laws like this, where the army are not being held accountable for their actions, then there is a human rights crisis in Kashmir.
What about in Pakistan? Or the Kashmiris any better off under the Pakistan?
You see, with Pakistan, after the partition, and obviously then when the Pakistan controlled Kashmir, or Azad Kashmir, whatever you wish to call it, they are in a situation where they are considered to be a state. The same way India considers Jammu and Kashmir to be a state of India, Azad Kashmir is considered to be a state of Pakistan. Whatever the issues there are, some people will say that we want freedom as well, which is fine. We want independence, which is fine. But again, if you look at the UN resolutions at that time, it was just India or Pakistan. At this present moment, there is a different situation. There is a different feeling inside the valley, as well as inside Azad Kashmir. But ultimately, until and unless we focus our attention on the ongoing atrocities inside the Indian-occupied Kashmir, there will be never any solution to any other place in the subcontinent, let alone just Azad Kashmir and Pakistan. Pakistan and India are parties to this. But you see, the entire subcontinent is a flashpoint. Afghanistan is involved in this, China is involved in this, India is involved in this, Pakistan is involved in this, Iran is involved in this, Russia is involved in this, indirectly or directly. It is literally not only a nuclear flashpoint of Asia, but it could spread over into Europe as well as America, into other parts of America.
Which I would say is all the more reason for America and Britain and other European countries to get involved. But before we come back to that issue, let's head for the agenda's electronic post room, where Mohammed Walji selects the best Facebook responses to today's topic.
The issue of Kashmir is a very hot topic, and scores of you joined in a lively debate on Facebook ahead of today's show to prove it. Kashmiri Sahib Mushtaq is very frustrated by the lack of international support. He wrote, "We have been under curfew for the past 4 months, with an ongoing and rising death toll reaching 110. The people of Kashmir want complete independence from India. Nothing less is acceptable." Meanwhile, Zalex from the UK writes, "The right of self-determination is the right thing to use, supported by a world legal framework testified by the UN." Kashmiri Adil founder Iruk says, "The right of self-determination first, then Kashmiris will decide what they want, Pakistan or independence. India isn't in our list." Ehsan Chaudhry from Lahore in Pakistan elaborates on the subject. He says, "The Kashmir dispute is a very complicated issue, having various dimensions. Most important is the fact that by controlling Kashmir, India is enabled to control all of Pakistan's water supplies and hence is a very useful arm-twisting tool." Kashmiri Waleed Ashfaq says the solution is actually very simple. All the parties of the conflict need to show some readiness and courage to take steps which lead to its peaceful solution. Easier said than done, Waleed. Meanwhile, Pakistani Al-Buraq writes, "The solution is very simple, but now has been made very complicated by the Indian regime. They are trying to keep something which doesn't want to be with them. The people of Kashmir should be given the right of self-determination." Londoner Huda Andrabi observes, "Given that Kashmir has historically never even been a part of the Indian Union until militarily invaded in 1947, I can't think how it should be regarded as an internal issue for India. It wasn't some little revolt from within the country after all. The simple solution is freedom from India, a sentiment shared by virtually all Kashmiris, irrespective of their individual political inclinations." Well, that's all we have time for today. So if you'd also like to be in touch, then please send your emails to theagenda@presstv.com. You can also contact us on Facebook or text us at +44 780 00 08 086. If you'd like to watch a past show, simply go to our website at presstv.com. Once there, click on the programs icon, then click on the agenda panel and there's a selection of past shows for you to choose from. Thanks for watching, and back to you in the studio.
Well, we've only got a few minutes left, and it'll be interesting to see if any of our guests have changed their views or maybe come up with a solution. Mumtaz Rathore, how are you going to get the international community to become involved?
Well, we would love to have international community come in sooner rather than later.
Well, America obviously has influence in Pakistan.
Well, you know, what can I say? After all these years, because a lot of killing has been going on in Kashmir, and I said that America and Britain, they are not part of the solution, they are the part of the problem.
So who
they come
would you
into
see
this,
as part of the solution? Because it's got to be somebody. I mean, who would India listen to?
Well, India will obviously listen to the man powers, which is Great Britain and United States of America.
I don't
agree with that either. I don't agree with that.
Well,
So who would they listen to?
I don't think India are prepared to listen to anyone. They have too much ego. You see, Kashmir is not just a social, political, whatever problem. It's also a matter of ego for them. You see, it was a fight between India and Pakistan. I feel that India felt it was a blow to them when Pakistan got their independence, and they felt they lost a part of India. And with Kashmir, it's clinging on to that last thread of ego to show that, no, we still have some power. But even that said, the problem doesn't lie with who India are going to listen to. India won't listen to anyone. They know that they have a playing card, an ace up their sleeves, in the sense that economics, cheap labour, cheap economy, cheap business, many cheap things. And unfortunately, the world powers will try to use India against China as well. China is a player in this, as I feel, mainly because India and China currently have bad relations. The Americans don't have very good relations with China at all. And I think there is a possibility in the future that if the issue of Kashmir is not solved, then China will become a player in this, indirectly or directly, because of India's interference, as well as the West's.
Victoria, could we have your assessment on this?
Well, I just want to pick up what Muzammil was saying in terms of China being a player. If you're going to turn Kashmir into a sort of a pawn between these regional powers, you know, I think it's really bad news for the Kashmiris, because what we see, and actually we've seen a similar situation when Afghanistan was regarded as a buffer firstly between Tsarist Russia and then Britain, the British Empire, and then between in the Cold War. Nobody actually looked at the interests of the Afghans, and I would certainly not like to see a situation where Kashmir is kind of put in this regional pot as to whose interests it serves better. But I agree that there is this really danger.
Well, they're not going to get independence on their own initiative, are they?
No, but I think, I mean, my sort of finishing word is that we've got to look at the ground realities of the situation, and we've got to have really almost, if we don't get this visionary leadership, we've got to have a bit of banging of heads together. And I really pray that the leadership in India and the leadership in Pakistan see that the collision course they're going along, if they're going to continue to feud over Kashmir, is not going to do any good for any of their populations. And I really would hope for a dialogue which includes representatives from the Kashmiris.
Well, on that note, thank you very, very much for coming in today and helping to look at a very difficult situation. So thank you to each and every one of you, and we'll see you all soon on the next agenda.
thank you very much.